Welcome to the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Join us each week as we sit down with the founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and author of Your Fiscal Physical, Ryan Nelson. Tune in to gain valuable insights and practical tips as we simplify complex financial concepts into digestible lessons. From budgeting to retirement planning, this podcast is your go-to resource for mastering financial literacy.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of the Fiscal Physical Podcast. My name is Aaron, here with Ryan Nelson, founder of Alchemy Wealth Management and a published author. You guys have heard me sing his praises for many an episode now, too. So I'm always honored and privileged to be a part of this podcast with him. And Ryan, with that introduction, how are you today, my man?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing today?
I am doing solid. Anytime that I get to increase my fiscal knowledge, I yearn for it. So you ready to dive in for this week's episode?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Awesome. So this is a cool one. When I was thinking about this one, it's funny. People were like, my wife was like, well, you're kind of a history buff. I was like, not really. I don't really remember that much in certain cases, but I really enjoy history. I'm fascinated by it, to be honest. Like, it was one of my favorite subjects in school. Like, I used to read heavily on historical battles, events, situations. Like, but as I've gotten older, I've just kind of forgotten a lot about it. Like, so I wouldn't consider myself a buff, but I am very intrigued by it overall. So, today we're going to attempt to take the listeners on a journey back in time, and I'm hoping you can help me out with, like, we're going to talk about 3 individuals, maybe more, depending on how many you have, that you believe have shaped the future or had the biggest impact on the financial future of the United States. So, not a topic I'm super familiar with as far as like this goes, but I'm curious in your vast knowledge who you have in mind of who shaped the United States financially.
Yeah, I'm by no means a history buff. I'm like the opposite of a history buff. So I may not be the best person to answer this question. And this is one I had to go and do a little research, resort to our good friend Google here, and kind of dig into some more information. So that was kind of fun. But so the 3 people I came up with was Alexander Hamilton, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and Jack Bogle. Alexander, and again, let's just dive in. So Alexander Hamilton.
The guy from the play?
Yeah. So he helped, as I did a little bit of research here, he helped sort of create trust in the banking and like finance sector, if you will. Mm-hmm. So we've talked in the past, like if there's no trust in the system, like the whole system relies on trust. So we'll kind of go high level maybe. So Franklin D. Roosevelt, he helped like create trust in the system. Alexander Hamilton helped create trust in the system. Franklin D. Roosevelt helped like create a protected system, which in some ways sort of also does the same thing, helps create trust, but it just makes it a more secure sort of like system. And then I went with Jack Bogle. So we'll talk a little more about him, but I think he helped spread access to the system. So these are 3 names. There's probably a dozen others, and I'd be curious to see what like our listeners think, or maybe the most influential people, because I'm sure there's quite a number that deserve to be on this list that I didn't include here. But so Alexander Hamilton, going back to the beginning, so he helped, he pushed for a national bank, and he wanted like a stronger federal financing system. So he said that basically a country needs trust to borrow, invest, and grow, which I think is 100% true. Like credit is basically, it's just trust measured in dollars. So if you go get a mortgage from the bank, like if you come to me and you're like, hey Ryan, I want to go buy a new house, can I borrow money from you to buy this house? How much I'm willing to lend to you is just basically a reflection of how much I trust you. Right? Like I'm like, if I'm pretty confident you're not going to pay me back, I'm not going to be very willing to give you very much money. Right? Now, if I have like the utmost confidence that you're going to be able to pay me back, for whatever reason, I have a tremendous amount of confidence. I'll it's like, yeah, I'll give you basically all my money because I know I'm going to be getting it back, right? In the flip side, like if you think about more specifically a mortgage, it's like, well, if, I have a little more trust because if something happens, I get to take your house from you and sell it, right?
Sure,
so I know
collateral.
so I know I'll get some money back, right? Whereas if I'm letting you, again, the example we've used for like credit card, and you go use your credit card to buy sushi, and then you don't make your payment, I can't go get that sushi back and sell it, right?
Right.
And so you can start to see like, okay, yeah, the bank would have a little more trust in lending you money for a mortgage and less trust lending you money for a credit card. And therefore you can see why credit cards, they charge a higher interest rate. Mortgage are typically lower interest rate, right? So I love this idea that credit is like trust, but measured in dollars.
Was that from Hamilton? Did he say that? Was that? Or
No.
Okay, I was like, that's
Google.
a heck of a
Well, he
quote.
might have said this is from Google, but
I was like, that's I didn't even think it was. I was like, oh wow, that is so true.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that idea. But so this was, again, I don't think that's a direct quote from him. It's just from research. But so basically, he embraced that concept though, and so that concept that credit is trust measured in dollars, he pushed to have like the U.S. be a more trustworthy place. And now in like hindsight, as we think, as we look at like where the U.S. is at today, we say like U.S. bonds are the most secure investments in the entire world. And there's lots of other federal governments who buy our bonds because they see it as the most effectively reliable or trustworthy source, right? So we've had so much money flow into our government, even from other governments, even from sort of adversarial governments, because it's the most trustworthy place for them to invest their money. And I think you could go all the way back to Alexander Hamilton, at least with crediting him with the idea of helping set us on this path of trustworthiness. And had he not set us on this path forward, I'm just curious how different our country would look if we didn't have like all of the other governments investing in us and all of our citizens investing in us.
Sure.
And it'd be interesting.
And it is interesting to think. I always, you think of it in the context of like, oh yeah, like it's Alexander Hamilton, very old, like it's a long time ago. In reality, like compared to like other countries, like we're pretty new. Like this
sure.
like you're like, this was like 220 plus years ago, like kind of thing. It's not like this was established, 700 years ago or anything like that too. It's relatively, we're fledgling when it comes to that. So it's impressive that he was able to like build this and what it's built into as well, to at least kind of like start that conversation with it too. So definitely, I think Alexander Hamilton was a big piece of our national history. Yeah,
cool stuff. Yeah. And then so FDR, Franklin Roosevelt. So he was around sort of, I guess probably the tail end of the Great Depression, but after the Great Depression. And we've actually talked, maybe not directly about him on previous podcasts, but some of what he helped at least achieve. And so during the Great Depression, there were some weaknesses in our financial system, or like, let's call them cracks that were exposed. So like things like potential bank failures and loss. Like, so if you had all of your savings in a bank and that bank fails and you lose your savings, well, you're probably not inclined to go put your savings in a bank ever again. Right. And there's some ways that like some people could abuse the investment markets and things. And so, he put some stuff in place after the Great Depression to help protect the financial system. So one of the things that we've talked about, I know on a past podcast, was FDIC insurance. So he helped sort of through FDIC insurance, that itself helps sort of restore trust in banks. We've talked about FDIC insurance actually a number of times, but it gives us confidence that, we can put our money in banks. Even if the bank itself fails, it's federally insured, so we know our money's still protected, right? So that's kind of cool. He also probably one of the things, I don't know, I would argue if you probably just ask a random person off the street what he's most famous for, it's probably Social Security. So starting Social Security, and that kind of the intent there was to give everybody like a baseline amount of money to survive on. But now as we fast forward to today, Social Security is a large part of many, many people's retirement picture, right? It takes a large piece of the pie of like a lot of people wouldn't be able to have a successful retirement without their Social Security. So just interesting that all those years ago. I mean, that would be 90 years ago or something.
Yeah, right around that.
I don't know. I wonder how old Social Security must be. Yeah, around 90 years, I'm guessing. And so even 90 years later, it's still such an integral part of so many people's retirement picture. I figured that alone's got to land him on the list. Yep. And then he also went through with some securities regulations, like through the SEC. So just making markets more transparent and safer. So there's less opportunity for abuse. So yeah, FDR. So like I said, Alexander Hamilton, he sort of started us on the path of like having a nation that's trustworthy. FDR then sort of identified some weaknesses in the system and helped maybe protect them in a way that, again, I think almost in hindsight gives us more confidence in the system as well. And then Social Security is such a big part of our retirements.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's many things that I feel like he did that, you know, you look back on and you're like, oh wow, like you mentioned, those things that are still in place, like FDIC, like insurance, like the Social Security, all these different areas that, like, I think we talked, I can't remember if we talked about it, but like how things, like sometimes there's a movement, if you want, or a topic of like, oh, are we just reinventing things to make them worse? Like, are we, in this case, it was like, hey, like these things, maybe they've been tweaked a little bit, but like the concept itself, like, and I don't know if he specifically came up with this, but it was like his administration, like some smart people, like during that time that you're like, wow, this is going to be applicable for a long time. Right. And then being able to have an impact like that. Absolutely. I could see exactly why he lands on that list for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then last I said, Jack Bogle. So he's a lot more recent. He is the founder of Vanguard. So he's the guy that started Vanguard. He's sort of this champion of low-cost index investing, and he's one of the him and Vanguard, I would say, sort of helped this movement of so ETFs, exchange traded funds, are this. I'm going to put in air quotes new, because in the grand scheme of like what we're talking about today, they are newer. But this like new form of investing that's very tax efficient, very cost efficient, right? And him through Vanguard helped sort of spearhead this movement. And now low cost index investing through ETFs is like a very, very common way. Most of our clients here at Alchemy Wealth are invested in ETFs, right? They're using a similar approach. And that is a result. Most of our funds that we're investing in aren't Vanguard. We don't have any issue with Vanguard. We're happy to invest in Vanguard when they're the most appropriate. But what's interesting is like he set us on this path. And even though there's now all these competitors, right? But like he largely sort of started that movement.
Interesting.
And now there's iShares. There's right everybody in there. Like every financial institution has their version of a low cost index fund that's in the form of an ETF. But he sort of started this movement. So he made it, you know, investing like simpler, clearer, more accessible. You know, again, costs have gone down. They're more tax efficient, and he's a big. He's a big stay the course guy, so you can't
love that.
Yeah, that's gotta make the course. That's gotta make the list alone, right?
Tattooed on your arm.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack Bogle. Yeah,
exactly. Have you ever heard the term bogleheads?
You know, I was when we were talking about this, I was like, I have heard that term before. I didn't know it was like, I didn't know what it was, but I've heard that term. I didn't know it was related to him too, and I was like, oh.
So what's the like Jimmy Buffett has like those people that follow him?
Oh yeah, the
parrot something.
The parrot. Is it parrot? Is it? Oh my gosh, yeah. His like cult, and it's not a cult, but it's like his following. The oh my gosh, what they are oh my gosh,
the parrot heads. Yeah,
parrot, is it the parrot?
It is parrot heads.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And then what are deadheads or
deadheads for the Grateful Dead.
Grateful Dead, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And so
bogleheads.
Bogleheads are like that equivalent, but for like Jack Bogle, I guess, right? So they've kind of like, they've like, you know, I'm assuming a parrot head is like, you know, only wears Tommy Bahama, and like you know, always has a margarita in their hand, and you know, the Deadheads are just like all about the Grateful Dead, and like you know, these Bogleheads are like you know, all about you know, oftentimes they're only using Vanguard funds, which now in hindsight is kind of silly because like I said, there's so many other companies and stuff,
options,
but you know, he had, I guess, a big enough following that there's people out there called Bogleheads, and they have this investment philosophy and stuff. So, so anyways, I think he helped like create sort of the more modern access to low cost investments. So kind of in hindsight, in summary, if we go back, so I said Alexander Hamilton to create trust in the system, Franklin D. Roosevelt to like kind of clean up the system and put into some things into place that protect the system. So both protection, FDIC insurance, and then Social Security. And then Jack Bogle to just kind of bring the financial system to the masses, let's call it.
Nice.
So I'm confident there's probably some people who deserve to be on that list who aren't. So I'd love to hear who else is on there. But yeah, anybody that was top of mind for you?
You know, it's funny when we were putting this together, I was like, oh, like Alexander Hamilton just in general, I know that one from different things. I've seen the play Hamilton. It's awesome. But just to talk about the impact that he had of just that way of thinking of like, hey, cool. Now we're free from the British, and now what the heck do we do financially? Kind of piece of it.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, didn't even think about that piece of it. So like having the national bank in these different areas, he was the top one on my list here.
I mean, there's a reason why they put it. He's on the 10, right?
Wait, he's on the $10 bill. Yeah.
So there's a reason why you did something right if you made it onto a currency, I think.
Exactly. But it's one of those things too that you're always like, oh, like is it because he's obviously he wasn't a president, but like if you make it onto money, you generally have done all right for yourself in general. So, but I think back and like I consider myself a Ryan Nelson head, if that's a thing. Yeah,
sure.
So
yeah,
he's probably on there. Yeah,
we should make it a thing. Yeah,
I was workshopping it in my brain during this. I was like, do we want to go with an alchemy head, or do we want to go with a Nelson head? Like, what do we want to do with this Neller head?
Yeah,
like,
there's something. There's something
there that we'll keep workshopping this.
It's got to evolve organically. Yeah.
It does. It does. So, listeners, let us know what we should we should be calling that. Is it the fiscal physical heads? Hard to say. Hard to say what our following is going to be called there. What we'll wear. So. But no, man, I think as far as like the history goes, like, when you mention these people, like I didn't know who Jack Bogle was originally, but now I'm like, oh yeah, that the idea of like the access to it is huge. Like and the idea that like simple, it can be powerful at the same time, like is like huge. It makes something that could be complex more simple. Like, I'm all about that kind of piece of it. So I think these three, like I said, I'd love to hear from other people who maybe know a bit more about this, or maybe there's one that you guys really enjoy who's like, hey, this person changed my life. As far as like, I'm surprised the one person that's not on here was Warren Buffett. I thought that you might have him on there just because we've also mentioned him a few times, but like, I don't know how much
interesting
change he actually did.
He didn't even cross my mind. If the question was to be like who are the greatest investors of all time, he would be probably number one. But yeah, I don't know that he did much besides invest.
Right.
Yeah. Which in some way he did. I will give him credit. Like his success investing, like has in some ways popularized investing. You know, it's like because you can only get the benefits of investing if you're investing, right? And so the more we see, because if you go look at like the Forbes top 100, richest people in the world, it's like business owner, and it's like, it's Warren Buffett investing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see like, oh, this is somebody who just started at a young age, invested for like 80 years, 75 years, whatever it is. And like, wow, that has a tremendous impact. So I do think, in hindsight, he has like that has created like this energy or an aura around like, oh, investing can be cool. You can make a lot of money through it, which is awesome. But yeah, I don't know that he like fundamentally changed the finance like industry, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. So that was one of the people I was like, oh, I wonder if that guy's going to make the list. But some good stuff out there for sure, Ryan. So awesome. Well, appreciate everybody joining us today here on this side of the Fiscal Physical. We'll go ahead and take a quick pause. Be back on the other side with some personal stuff.
And now, to put the personal in personal finance.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging tight with us here, and let's dive into the personal section here. And you might be hearing a theme if you listen to us every week about kind of compounding or going back to questions from previous weeks too. So if you guys listened to last week's episode, thank you first off. And the personal question we had last week was, what was the most stressed you've ever been? And so we're gonna switch that around 180 and go with this question for you, Ryan, is what is the most relaxed you can remember being in your life?
Yeah, like I said last week, I mean, I don't have the highest highs or the lowest lows or the stressiest stresses or the most relaxes or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
But Yeah, so I don't know. I struggled with this one as well. I said being in Mexico, I think there's something about vacations that can be stress-free, right? You're not logging into your email. I'm oftentimes away from my phone a lot more. Sometimes I'll leave it in like a hotel room for an entire day or something. Just things that help reduce stress. But then also sometimes on vacations, it's like go, and it's like an adventure to the next adventure or something. And that in itself can create a little bit of stress, or you're exploring a new subway system, or you're in a country you can't speak the native language, and that in itself can create some stresses, right? But I do think at these like all-inclusive resorts in Mexico, despite it being in Mexico, they all speak English. And it's just like, everything you need is within 100 yards from you, and people are happy to bring you things. And so I think, a vacation where it's not super adventure based, but more of like a relaxing based vacation. So for me, we'll call it all inclusive in Mexico. What about you?
I love it. I'm right in that same kind of realm with it too. And you hit on a big piece of like, one of the things about like traveling, I love traveling, I love exploring, love doing these different things, but there is that level of stress, like getting there and like the piece of it. And once you're there, like, okay, like, what do we do next? Like, do we make sure, like, are we safe? Are we these areas? And like, also I think the language piece of it is huge too, of like, oh, cool. Are we in our, do I know what's going on kind of element of it? And like, you mentioned like, I love Mexico. I've been to a couple all-inclusive resorts there. It's phenomenal. I love the weather there too. On my honeymoon, we went to Barbados though, in the Caribbean. And, that was very similar, but a little more, I guess, exclusive. I don't know if that's the kind of place of it, but it was one of those things. You're
slower pace,
definitely much slower pace, a lot less people, like a little bit smaller too. And you're on the beach, and you're just like, holy smokes! Like, and at the time when I went, I didn't have a kid. I didn't have everything was paid for. I was off for like 15 days of work, and I was like, same thing you did. I left my phone in the room. And I was just like, perfect. I tipped a waiter a lot, and then they just continued to bring us like drinks or food or anything that we want. And I was like, we spent like 2 straight days just on the beach, just like hanging out. Then we did some adventures and such too. But like those first 2 days, I was like, well, I think I've peaked. Like, piece of it. Like, I don't think I could get more relaxed here. So I think that definitely, same vein, the all-inclusive piece of it, but like having like those necessities taken care of and feeling in a relaxed state is definitely where, and then that island vibe, or that Caribbean vibe, or whatever you want to call it, beach vibe. That's probably a better way to put it.
There's definitely something nice about that. I do find, though, to be honest with you, like I find myself getting bored.
Oh, after I couldn't do it for like a week. I remember when we were down there was this couple from Great Britain who literally had their same exact chairs. They were in the same exact spot for a whole week. I don't know if they ever left that beach except to like go to dinner and like sleep. Impressive. And I was like, I mean, more respect to you. That's how you want it. But at the same time, I was like, cool. Like, let's go do an island tour. Like, kind of piece of it. Like, it couldn't do it forever by any means. So there's definitely a limit to that for myself as well too. So
I even bring it back to retirement planning and stuff. I think about that like from a retirement standpoint and stuff too. It's like, man, I want to retire. I like the idea of retirement. Also, at the same time, like, I like doing things and accomplishing things and like on to the next thing. And so it's like, I don't know. I don't know what like a retirement really would look like for me, or like, do I, would I actually be fulfilled not like working, in some way? I don't know. It's just interesting to think about. And obviously, we'll all change over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And so, probably not too much stress in exactly thinking about the exact details of that yet, but so
that's good. It's a good point to kind of make about like, it's one of those like, that'd be a good problem to have. I'd like to problem solve that one for sure. So,
definitely.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it, Ryan. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone who's listening in as well too. We really appreciate it. And Ryan, I'll leave it to you to have the last words here.
As always, stay the course.
Thank you for joining us for the Fiscal Physical Podcast. Until next time, happy listening. And as always, stay the course. If you have a question or topic suggestions, please email us at podcast@alchemywealth.com. If you enjoyed today's discussion, subscribe to the podcast to ensure you never miss an episode. And consider leaving us a rating and review on your favorite platform. This helps other listeners like you Find the show. For more resources, you can visit Alchemy Wealth Management's website at www.alchemywealth.com or find your fiscal physical, the book, on Amazon. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that personal finance is just that, personal. Please don't take anything we say as advice. The preceding content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not an offer or a solicitation, nor should it be construed or relied upon for tax, legal, or investment advice. It doesn't consider your personal financial situation or objectives and may not be suitable for you.